to William. I be ballin'. Chang candunk. Hey, what up, y'all? It's Ashley. I be ballin'. Today we're gonna review the movie Chang candunk. It's on Disney Plus. Great movie. But before we start, I'm gonna introduce my guest. WILL William. Talk
What
about
a
yourself. What up? And your channel, Road to William.
road to William. I like to do reviews on movie shows, interviews. I just like to learn. So if you want to learn, come to my channel, Road to William. New videos dropping soon. Stay tuned. Mhm.
All right. Make sure you go to visit Road to William, explore all the playlists, all the movie reviews, all the videos on icons, all the history lessons. Yeah. So Disney Plus came out with a movie, Chang and Dunk. It was made in 2023, y'all. And I feel like this was a good overall movie by Disney. Chang and Dunk, I feel like a lot of people can relate to it. It's basically about Shane, who's in high school, and I feel like he's dealing with a lot of things that, a lot of kids growing up, want. They want to fit in and be cool and, a girl they like to. He takes an interest in Christy, who's the new girl, and, you know, he's not on the basketball team, but he loves basketball. He loves Kobe. And, he does sort of have an enemy, where everyone can relate to, having a crush on someone or, having an enemy that you're kind of competing with, and you want to fit in. And I think it's about that. I feel like it's a good coming of age movie. It's all about that, you know, teen drama stuff, and it also deals with his relationship with his mother. And he also has, a crew, behind you over there. And so Shane can dunk is basically he's trying to prove, I think it's like 10 weeks, that he can dunk in 2 weeks because his enemy, let me get the name of the enemy. They used to be friends. And I feel like it's always like that in movies. Like one of your enemies used to be like a friend in elementary school, but y'all parted ways, right? One went to the popular crowd, right? And the other is, with the lesser known individuals. But anyway, he makes a bet with his enemy, right? And he bets Matt that he can dunk because, Matt, he got Christie's attention. He's popular. He can dunk, you know, and they kind of make a bet like, hey, you can't dunk. And the bet was like, the loser got to shave his head. And I feel like that's normal high school stuff. But what I like to do in my movie reviews is if you had to describe this movie in one word, what would it be? I feel like mine's is, oh man, what is mine's? Mine's is gonna be, since Chang really loved Kobe, loved basketball, you know. So I'm gonna say, um, Mamba mentality.
Mhm.
And for those that don't know Mamba mentality, I feel like it's all about your mindset, being better every day, achieving and striving for something. And Shane really wanted to dunk, for his own reasons, right? And I feel like he did have that Mamba mentality. He really trained really hard for it. But also, he started, switching up, once he got a little 15 minutes of fame. And I feel like a lot of people do that, right? But what is your word? What's your one word to describe Chain Condunk? I feel like there's a lot of themes, there's a lot of elements to it that a lot of people going through, middle school, high school can relate to.
I got two words. One is confidence, and the other one is focused. Because it just showed throughout the film, like no matter what anyone said to Chang, it ultimately was up to him to have the confidence in himself to kind of achieve these goals. Like he had to have the confidence to back himself up when he was right and wrong, but he would like cave a lot. So I feel like none of this, even him having the confidence to go up to Christy at the end to kind of just tell her that he was in the wrong, to have the confidence to even open up to his mother in the car, even though it was a stressful moment. Like you gotta have confidence to kind of like stick up for yourself in life. So I think that was a big one. That was a big one.
It's a
I
focus.
stay focused on the goal because he was looking at comments. I was like, they make this movie about me? No, because because you can see like one bad comment and feel like they that's the end all be all. And like if you're only focused on the negative, you're only gonna get negative results. If you focus more on the positive, the only thing that's gonna affect you is positivity. So you just gotta stay focused on your goal at all times.
Okay. I definitely like this movie. They had some good scenes in it. Great actors, great actors.
Mhm.
And I love that they definitely kept up with the times because what do people in high school love? They love, editing videos and going on YouTube and things going viral and comments and they also they they took a lot of internet elements out there, different basketball highlights and I did like how they did um the editing. It was almost like you were watching a movie, but you're also watching their videos that they're editing. His friend Bo, he was like the master of editing, and DeAndre back there, he was, going viral of his own, like his own YouTube channel of dunking. And so he was helping change, improve his techniques and his abs and, eating right to try to dunk. And I also felt like he wasn't, like you said, he didn't have confidence, but he also feel like he cared about what other people said a lot. He cared about his image, his hair. Um, he was really into basketball, but it wasn't until later he got that confidence to like try out for the team and, you know, also I feel like he was so he was into this battle with Matt so much that he didn't even realize that Christy liked him from the beginning instead of Matt. Christy wasn't really into Matt. And, I remember when the bet had happened, Christy was gone. She left. Like
Right? That was funny.
you were so into the beef with Matt that you could have just walked off with Christy, but no, you sort of embarrassed yourself at the party and you made a
Sort of.
bet.
I was embarrassed for him. I wasn't even there.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite character or a favorite scene?
This was a really good movie. Like, I was really shocked at the film because I'm like, I've never heard of it, and I don't be on Disney Plus either. But besides that, I like didn't see any promo for it, and that was like 2 years ago now. Um,
Mm-hmm.
My favorite, this is gonna be kind of strange. I think one of my favorite scenes, it was two. Can I have two?
Oh yeah, sure.
One is when he had his crew. He done got DeAndre and Bo, and they're up like 5 in the morning, pushing his car, hustling. They're showing. I like the scenes where they're showing the hard grind of it, where someone would give up in those moments. Like I ain't getting up at 5 a.m. And doing all this just for a dunk. Like I think that was a good scene. And then the second one was it's gonna be kind of messed up, I think. But when he went to that party he was invited to the Jordan party or whatever that was, and he left his friends out there. I think a scene that was favorite to me wasn't that. It was when Chang was coming out and DeAndre was the only one left, and he was like, "Where did they go?" He was like, "Oh, I took them home." I think that moment was favorite because like uh, he didn't realize uh, the importance of it all. He only looked at like the cake. You know what I mean? He didn't realize it wasn't about the glitz and the glams. It was like celebrating with the people that got you there. And I think the fate, like the acting, DeAndre like had it on point. Cause I'll say this, that part is important for me because when it showed you that close up to DeAndre, like he felt disappointed that not only that he didn't go in there with them to celebrate with them, but also like he was disappointed in Chang because he didn't realize like it in the moment. And it was important because later in the film, the mom would kind of throw her own like doubts and fears on the Chang, and she threw DeAndre in it like, oh, he's just using you. But like it reminded me to go back to that point where DeAndre was sitting in that car disappointed, and it wasn't about the fame. Because at first I thought that too. I'm like, oh, because you saw him kind of trying to still get in, like, oh, I used to play, I know this, that person. But it reminded me in that moment when she was throwing all those doubts that um you got to use your discernment because even the people saying people are using you could be wrong. And she was wrong in that moment because DeAndre really did want to see him win and grow.
That's great. That's great. Those two scenes, one was like the training montage, and one was like a serious learning lesson. That's deep because he thought, oh, I brought you these shoes. That's good enough. Ah, you forgot about them. And also, he took them home. I don't
Right.
know where they lived at, but he took two people home. So he must have been in there for hours. You don't forget people that had your back for hours. Come on now. And there was NBA players there, and I'm like, Kobe wasn't there, y'all. Like
Giannis wasn't there.
you had Richard Jefferson and Kendrick Perkins. Ooh, wow, ESPN. Yeah, I was like, I'm like, come on, dude.
Yeah.
Um, but I think also I feel like DeAndre played by. Oh yeah, let's get these shout outs. I think all the actors did good. The person that played Shane, his name is Bloom Lee. I think I pronounced that right. Bo is played by Ben Wang. Um, DeAndre is played by Dexter Darden, who's also engaged to JoJo. And I think his acting has come a long way because I've seen him in short, different parts like Maze Runner and stuff. And
Mhm.
he's actually usually not the cool person in the movies. He's actually sort of like, you know, not very popular in the movies. So it was a different acting role. I have seen Christy before, played by Zoe Renee. Um, Matt is played by Chase Liefeld, and the mom Chin is played by Marty Ma. And speaking of the mother, how did you um how did you feel about the uh mother and son relationship? Because I did like that they showed, you know, Asian American culture and they were speaking in Mandarin as well. And
Mhm.
I also realized the mother didn't call like Chang, his name, Chang. She would say something different. And I feel like a lot of mothers use a different name when, their child is like, in trouble or something like that. So I thought that was interesting. But
Yeah.
I I felt like, second time around watching this, I feel like that was an important relationship.
Mhm.
'Cause people say parents just don't understand, But I feel like they both needed to communicate better, you know, and it could be how she grew up and how, she was raised and, probably think basketball is a waste of time. Focus on your education and she's working hard, busting her butt. But I feel like they both wasn't really communicating with each other and they both wasn't listening to one another and not having common interests as well. And
Mhm.
I even remember at the dinner table, she was asking questions, but she wanted to know, but the son was a little afraid to say stuff too because he was like, you might not even care about it and stuff. And a lot of children be like, at least they care about me, and they think that other people care more about them than the parents. So how did you feel about that relationship?
Um, I felt like some of the stuff was relatable with growing up, not just with me and my mom, but also my father. Like, because especially like when I had to live with my father later on in life, it felt a lot like this. Like, I felt scared to talk to him about stuff. But even growing up, I felt scared to talk to my mom about stuff too because we grew up very well. Not my dad, like that. He didn't grow up religious, but my mom's side, like they grew up very religious, and a lot of times, um, that can hinder it too. Um, but I think she kind of scared me too in the film. Like I was like, yeah, I wasn't able to talk to her either because she is kind of like a little aggressive on it. Like, okay, well, what? Because it felt like it wasn't like it was all about the tone. It
Yeah,
was her tone that made it seem like, and she didn't realize she had to adjust herself either
yeah.
because, and I mean, maybe she didn't have to adjust, right? Because maybe that's just how some people talk. But I think if you're more aware of like when you're building a relationship, you learn how to talk to each other, and they never open that up for each other until now in this film. And she needed him. She needed um, hope because we saw at her job, he noticed like, oh, she gets talked down to and treated like whatever. Like we saw her get the hand to. I was like, hold on, like, but and so it just shows like the reality of life, like because we didn't see her like, oh, she about to quit her job and do something crazy different. Like it just showed you a reality. Like a lot of times in life, you gotta work the jobs you kind of don't want to do. But how do you get by? Because she needed something to relax her. She didn't have a place of her, even though they had a house, she didn't have her own space. And I think Chang and this whole experience like helped her kind of be like, I'm tired of living the same way too. And sometimes it showed like your kids can be that extra boost you needed, in your life.
Okay, okay, okay. A lot of different lessons with family and friendship. He had all the friends he really needed right there in that elevator, but Shane wanted that love from strangers that, you don't really care about you. They just hype that shit for the moment. But I think, oh, did I say my favorite scene? Guess I I don't know if I have a favorite scene. I just like all the editing and how they were showing the YouTube videos and all of that. And I think I liked all of the characters, but yeah, the mom was scary. Um, I thought Shane's friends was the dopest. I'm not. I was watching this film and I'm like, Shane isn't very likable to me. I'm just keeping it a buck. I don't know. I didn't really. He wasn't my favorite. I liked his other friends more, but I feel like that might just be the chain of. I don't know how old he was, but that might just be the chain of 16-year-old. Maybe he's better at 23, after he learned all the lessons, you know, treating your friends right. You know, I also like what's like some of the biggest lessons of the movie, or like, is there something you would change, or like they should have did differently? What do you think? Like, or do you think it was like no changes?
I think one of the biggest lessons was you like the 2.0 reference is a good like lesson to look back on to be like the 1.0 version didn't know what the 2.0 version knows, and the 3 and the 4, like with the Kobe, like people loved Kobe. They talk about Kobe now, but throughout his career, he had to still build himself up to become what we can now sit back and look at. Now, I think all of the characters had Mamba mentality moments that they needed to, they all had a 2.0 moment.
Okay,
Um, Everybody had to rebuild themselves and grow. And it took Chang to kind of remind them. But the only one who I feel like didn't really need any like motivation was Christy. But maybe she did and I'm missing it. But I feel like Christy was that character who out of everyone, well, her and Bo, they kind of like knew who they were. You know what I mean? Like they weren't kind of like we didn't really know much about Bo's character. He kind of just seemed like he had his shit together. Like he had his stuff together.
yeah,
Christy had her stuff. Like yes, her dad passed, and maybe that's kind of like a. But it's not like her family weren't close. Like they all came closer together. But she needed someone to share that with because even though she's close with her sister and her family, uh, she still needed that outlet as well to hang with friends. Like she didn't really care about that he wanted to do this dunk. She cared about him and she cared about what he cared about. And I think they were like showing people what friendship is. It's not about what that your friends can achieve so you can root for them. It's like, no, I like you because you're cool. And it's cool that you like that. And I'll support you. And I think they're just showing people what friendship is and stuff like that. But
okay,
yeah.
okay. Yeah, I like how you phrased everybody at their Mamba moments of. Um, and like you said, some people know who they are early, and some people don't, and they have to go on this journey. But yeah, I think the biggest lesson is just be yourself and don't do things for the wrong reasons. Because I feel like he wanted to dunk for all the wrong reasons. Then when he started getting popular, then more bad things started to happen after that. So I just think doing things for the right reasons, you know, keeping your friendships, family close, you
Mhm.
know, because sometimes the things that you need are just right there in that elevator, right there under your nose. But what was I gonna say? Oh, I think the only thing I would change about the movie is that I feel like they kind of gave it away that he didn't really dunk
Mm.
because they he snuck into the, school, right? Closed doors. I think they should have showed the part a little later to actually fool us, the audience, that he could really dunk, maybe.
I'm gonna keep it a buck. I didn't catch that. I
Oh,
was just
really?
as everybody else. I was like, what? Because I was like, why is he coming in the gym early? I'm thinking like, oh, he's really in his bag. He about to go in early in the morning and start at the gym. And then I was like, why did he go in there? I just thought he was practicing. I thought he was going in there just.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know he was adjusting the hoop. I'm like, what's going on? So I
Okay, okay.
was disappointed.
I got you. I got you. I do like that, Chang shaved his head, and I actually think that is a good look for him. It was because he was changing his hairstyle throughout the movie. Like, oh, what can I do? Um, I actually like both of the shaved heads, actually, on both of the characters, Matt and Chang. But overall, I think this was a great movie. I definitely would give it a 5 out of 5. There's nothing I would really change. How about you? How would you rate it? 1 out of 5.
1 out of 5. I'm giving it a 5. I was crying a lot. The emotion,
Really? Okay, okay,
emotioning. The
okay.
basketball scenes were lit. The editing was incredible. I
Did you
liked how they
laugh?
showed you tips on building your brand, building your channel, and how at first you're it's gonna be cringe, it's gonna be corny, whatever. But if you keep going, allow yourself to get better. And I think it's a reminder, just keep allowing yourself to get better because no one's started perfect. And you shouldn't try and achieve perfect. You should just keep trying to achieve better and better.
That's the Mamba mentality. Get better. And even DeAndre's channel, both spiced his channel up, with the editing. Sometimes you need that tribe and that crew, to tell you when you're wrong and give you some criticism, some life advice, some love, some, inspiration, and just be yourself.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for joining me. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you visit Road to William on YouTube. Tell me
Oh,
what.
I would
Oh,
change one thing. When
okay.
he shaved his head off, nobody got tapers, nobody got lineups. They just shaved it. And so that would be the thing I would change. Just line it up, and that's it. That's the only thing I would change.
Okay, okay. That's the barber. That's the barber.
That's it.
Barbershop, you know. Hey,
And I want to see him in more films. And he sounded a lot like, I know people hate when you compare, but I couldn't get it out my head. Like if I wasn't looking at the TV, I would have swore it was comedian Lil Rel. I'm like, he sounds a lot like him.
okay. You can see the resemblance. Okay. You can see it.
Voice, his voice, not how he looked. I say if you listen to him without looking at the TV, you're gonna think you're listening to comedian Lil Rel. But they're two separate people. But that would be dope if they did a film in the future. Let's just throw that out there. I don't know what y'all be, brothers.